Okay, so the purpose of this session is that we are going to create a piece of music using our mobile phones and our tablets. Now, there's no real restrictions on this, so you can be absolutely as free as you want to be. However, there are two rules. The first rule is that everybody in the group must either play something or do something vocally as part of the composition. And the second rule is I'd like you to aim for it to be as close as you can get to 1 minute long. And the reason for that is that in our next couple of lessons, we're going to add to this composition, so we don't want the first section to be too long so that we've got something to work to.
I think what you can do is you can record yourself speaking into it and then change the sound of your voice and then play that almost like another musical instrument. So have a play with that. Yeah. So don't forget you've got, those only two people in the group, the potential of what you can do with using this multi-tracker here and using your voices and sampling could be amazing.
3, 2, 1, now. You recorded. Sounds alright, but I'll come in earlier.
Okay. Now add another bit on that. So do that. Instruments.
Now, if you haven't quite got anything to play, or you've just got a few ideas to play back, can you play us what you've got, and then just talk us through what you were trying to do, what your aim was for the session, just so we can hear. I am so impressed with what you've done in a really short space of time. And what we need to think about as well, thank you, is what we will do with this next lesson, or how we would take this forward. Okay, and that's really important for my planning, so that's something I'm going to be asking you about as well. Now where would you take that next if we would do something else with it?
Maybe make the voice and the acoustic go better together.
So you recorded your voice into that?
Yeah, but it didn't really come up. We sung, but luckily that didn't come up.
But that's clear that you know exactly what you want to do,
Yeah.
isn't it? Brilliant.
We had a few tries, and some of them weren't very good, so we got rid of them. Some of them, well, we started this about 3 minutes ago, well, before we came in. Just think it does, because we haven't put any words to it, so it just repeats that.
I found it great fun. I thought it was nice to sort of have freedom and to play around with things, so I thought it was great.
And some people, when they think, if they might think, oh, playing the violin or piano or whatever is not cool, but then when you have it on an iPad, they're up to date in a way, and then that can get people to have a go on it, that wouldn't think they would want to, and then that can make them want to do it.
We could play instruments, like virtual instruments, because in real life I can't really play one, because I want some lessons, but they had all the keys, so I could learn by iPads and all that, and I could play at home.
Well, I thought music, when I came to Monkswell, I thought it was all about instruments and just learning how to play chords, but I never thought we'd use phones and stuff to make something. Yeah, so it's been quite fun.
Brilliant. And are you going to say to me, we don't want to play instruments anymore, we just want to play iPads, or do you think playing instruments is still going to be really important?
I think it's still important that we play the other stuff, because you'll look at them in a different way, and you know that you can, because you would have already done it on the iPads. Also, it gives you a lot more freedom if you're on there, and you're not stuck only able to do a few things. You can start with the easier stuff where it does most of it for you and gradually do most of it yourself.
The creative composition task, I think, worried me the most. Year 7s, in my experience, need lots of practice at composing and don't always know where to start. So I've always in the past been careful to give them things to start them off. That could be a bass line, some suggested chords, a melody, or something that they can just go off into groups and they've got something they can play straight away. They were all very quickly discovered they needed a rhythm to be able to hold them together and to play in time. So one of the first things they were doing were creating rhythmic backing tracks or finding apps where they could play a drum beat, and then they were adding in their chords and then singing over the top or adding in melodies and being quite creative from there. They actually came up with their own structure as opposed to me needing to give them that structure to start with, and I think as a result we got a much wider selection of outcomes than we would have done had I been more prescriptive in the first place. I think the next step would be in the first instance just to give them a little longer to explore and then start to think about how I might be able to bring in some of the elements of music that we need Year 7s to become familiar with. The idea of structure, so if they've composed something and it's becoming very repetitive, how could you then move into a new section and do something structurally different? How can you layer the textures and create an introduction where parts start one at a time, which is something we've modelled in the singing and the vocal approach, but something that I'd like them to then be able to put into the idea of their compositions. The idea as well of different instrumental timbres and changing those and the ways that the apps allow it to be played. So you can play things pizzicato, you can have bowed sounds on the strings, you can use different types of synthesized sounds or keyboards or pianos. So there's a whole wealth of different things they could explore.